From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas of Stunning Digital Marketing. In this edition of the SDM Show, I have my guest Bill West, CEO and founder of Ellipsis Technologies, with me. We're going to talk about their CAPTCHA product for forms and their security products and much, much more. So grab a drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. In today's podcast, I've got Bill West with me, who's the CEO and founder of Ellipsis Technology based in South Carolina. How are you today, Bill?
Good, Rob. How are you?
Doing great, and great to have you today. So one of the things I like to jump into is how did you get where you are and kind of what's the origin story behind your company and what you're doing now?
Sure. Well, I was in telecom for a lot of my career, but after we sold the company, I was, I guess when I would get on websites or buy something on an e-commerce site, I would just gripe about that squiggly little CAPTCHA thing that you had to try to solve, with the squiggly little letters and everything. And one night I was having a social conversation with a friend of mine who had an e-commerce site, and pretty large. He did about 500 million a year. And he was saying that his wife took his reading glasses with her to go shopping, and he was trying to buy something for his own company for the last half hour and couldn't solve the little CAPTCHA. So that's how we started thinking about this. And he said, could you help me find an alternative to CAPTCHA that maybe is easier or people don't fail? So when we did the research, we found that 3 to 4% of his customers were dropping off as soon as they saw the CAPTCHA, and he was getting up to 30% failing on the first attempt. So he said, my goodness, I spend a fortune getting these people to my website, and now I'm losing them over something like that. So I searched around for an alternative, and I found that a lot of them were just as annoying and probably had the same drop-off rates. Complete the phrase, complete the advertising, which picture has a stop sign, things like that. So we have the exact opposite approach. Instead of trying to find a bot like all the current methods, we're trying to identify a human, and we assume everybody else is suspicious. So what we do is, as somebody is browsing through a website, we collect the timing and movement behavioral events: length of a keystroke down, keystroke up, time between keystrokes, touches, mouse movements, swipes, everything. And then we built proprietary algorithms, and we can detect whether that person is behaving like a human, if the range of his movement is within human ranges. And now we have, after being in this a few years, we have database of billions of sessions. And so we can bang that particular session against all the previous sessions as well and find out if they're in the human range. So that was our original product. We just had straight CAPTCHA displacement. And then our customers started telling us that uh, it's more than CAPTCHA. That's one problem. But the other problem they have is spam bots, and spam bots can get around the CAPTCHA somehow and come in. So uh, they said, this costs us real money, because now I have customers trying to read a product review and they have to get past all these spam entries, and they have to have a paid employee every afternoon sit and clean out all the bad entries. So they said, this is not only an annoyance to my customers or potential customers, but it's costing me real money to have somebody do this. So we protect forms from form spam, and that really changed the game dramatically. And we've since, and I'll tell you about it as we go on. We've added other features as well as we just learn from our customers what they need. So, but that's how we got into it. Just it was originally going to be a captcha displacement, but then we took the exact opposite approach of being, searching for humans rather than trying to trick a bot.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I mean, I know from my point of view as a user, captchas are like the bane of my existence. I despise them actually.
Yeah, and they cost
But as a web
you
designer,
real money and customers, and so.
but as a web designer, I understand wholeheartedly. And the other thing that's changed the whole captcha game is a lot of captchas don't work well on mobile, interestingly enough. So, and
No,
we
you're
all
right.
know 50% of the searches plus are done on a tablet or on a smartphone, right? So,
Yep. And yeah, the bots have figured out how to beat it too. They can beat it with amazing accuracy right now. So, but they can't
yeah,
beat us.
I would love some of these bot manufacturers to take the artificial intelligence AI in the bots and harness it into something good instead of all this garbage they're feeding us. Because
Right.
some of
Right.
that AI is actually pretty amazing when you think about it, right? So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Um, so in terms of CAPTCHA plugins, and you've just had, I believe, an upgrade to yours recently that came out in the last month or so. What
Yeah,
new is in your
it's
plugin?
coming out now as we beta tested it with a few WordPress and WooCommerce users. We've added other things and made things simpler. But we had the basic. Well, we launched originally on WordPress just as a simple captcha displacement and spam detection, form spam detection. We also launched at the same time on Shopify. We've since enhanced the Shopify to include checkout protection, and checkout protection was for checkout bots, or what were called sneaker bots, if you're familiar with that term, Rob. It
Mhm.
started with Michael Jordan's sneakers, 20, 30 years ago, where the latest pair of Michael Jordan sneakers came out. Uh, you could buy them instantly and resell them for quite a markup, as people just wanted these newest items. It's now any collectible items or small inventory items are bought by checkout bots, but they're still called sneaker bots from the original days, and they can do hundreds, if not 1,000 checkouts a minute now. So they can wipe out your inventory in no time. And for years, the e-commerce companies were saying, "Who cares? I mean, we sold everything in 5 minutes. That's a pretty good deal." But now what they're finding is that human traffic is coming down, because you're always sold out of the good stuff, and humans tend to put more than one thing in their cart, where the bots just buy one thing and they're gone. So uh, they know they had to do something. So we came up with the first solution for checkout protection on Shopify. We're doing extraordinarily well with that, and that's what we're introducing in the WordPress WooCommerce world in about 2 weeks now, 3 weeks, and we have a very high powered rules engine that uh, the users can set rules on when they want to cancel order, if they want to review an order, if they should put it back in inventory, all that kind of thing. There's tons and tons of rules that they can set the parameters for themselves, and that's what we really had a lot of customer input on, what exactly they wanted to monitor, what they wanted to cancel. So we've been enhancing that for the last few weeks, but we're ready to roll it out in probably mid October is what we're hoping.
Oh, that's really cool. It's really an exciting time. I was saying to you before we went to record to be in the WooCommerce space right now with everything that's going on between the hosting offerings, the new plugins, the mergers, and things like this. It just makes it a really great time. And I think more and more businesses are starting in the pandemic. We certainly saw an uptake in Woo sites, and I think more and more businesses are starting to go that way. And part of the reason is I was saying to somebody the other day, if I had a choice of doing an order online or walking into a store and getting what I call crappy service, which seems to be a trend these days, I'd rather just do the order online and be done with it.
Yeah, I think more and more people. I'm certainly like that, but I think more and more people are like that too. So
Yeah,
actually, I walked through the mall about a month ago or so, and I'm really wondering how they stay in business. A lot of the stores there. So there were
yeah.
three, four, five people in every store. Incredible to me. So I don't know how that math works. But yeah, we're
No,
very excited to be in WordPress and Woo, and the customers, the user support they give us is incredible. We really like it, so we're excited about bringing a full power. The other thing we're working on, which will probably be at the beginning next year, and again, this is driven by WordPress and WooCommerce users telling us, are carding protection. If you're familiar with carding problem, and
no, I am.
yeah, and so somebody steals 10 million credit cards, they check them on small stores because the big stores will catch them, and then they find out, okay, these 1,000 are still haven't been reported and are closed down, and then they go buy something big somewhere else. Uh, we're going to come up with a protection for that. We have it all designed, and we're developing it as we speak. So I think that'll be very important for the WooCommerce merchants as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with with things like that. I didn't share this with you, but for many years, Toronto Police used to have a social media fraud working group, which was a combination of big players from big companies and people in the web, social media, and in the know, and people in the community in the know. And we used to sit down and talk about fraud issues. And people don't understand with credit cards that they'll often test in a smaller location, and then they go and they try and buy
Yep.
that 10,000 or $5,000 purchase. Like
Yep, but
it's
check it out
crazy.
on a small store that doesn't have any protection. So that's why we're hoping to offer protection, because it seems to be something that's increasing really rapidly now too. I mean,
Yeah,
we got one or two mentions of it as recently as 9 months ago. Now we're getting quite a few. So
yeah, and with all the stealing of credit card numbers and the skimming and the and all of that side of it, I mean, I walked into about 5 years ago. I walked into an ATM in a branch. And I took one look at the ATM and said, I'm not using this ATM. And I walked into the branch and I said, Oh, give me the branch manager and give me the branch manager now. And they're like, What's wrong? I said, Have you guys even checked your ATM out front? And they said, Yeah. And I said, You didn't notice the skimming device that's sitting on the front of it? like, and it turned out that somebody had installed a skimming device right in the branch ATM and this kind of stuff. And then these credit card numbers get shared all over the place, and there's databases out there of, you know, of, uh, of credit card numbers to be sold, and that's how they're usually bought, sold, and traded, right? So
yeah, isn't that incredible? Incredible.
yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, yeah. You're right. It seemed more blatant and out in the open than we would have guessed when we looked into it. It's
Yeah.
very strange.
And I've shared this pretty publicly. I've gone through bank fraud in the last 2 years, and how that happened, who knows? In a long and nutshell, is I had somebody do a deposit through somewhere in China into my account, and then try and take it out on the back end. you know,
Really.
and I've been through that. I've been through personally. I've been through my credit card. Last year, I had canceled. It was used in Japan, of all places, and I am nowhere near Japan. So, you know,
Wow.
fraud is becoming a big issue. So I'm glad your company's jumping in there, Bill. That's a big deal.
Yeah, but it's you asked about the origin story. It's been interesting how we've drifted
Yeah.
from a pure captcha displacement to form spam to checkout protection to
Mhm.
carding protection, where we're uh, and there'll probably be other things that we add over time because 2 years ago I don't think we would have thought of carding protection. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride, and we're excited about the future as well.
Yeah. What does your CAPTCHA plugin run at cost wise typically?
Um, it's just a straight app. And we have different pricing all over. On Shopify, it's $4.99 a month. Uh, For WordPress, we're going to have annual pricing because that's what the user said they're more accustomed to over there.
Mm,
It's going to be something like $49 a month, $69 a month on depending what features you add to it, a year rather. Excuse me. Um,
okay.
and then with WooCommerce, it'll probably be higher as we had checkout protection and carding, but not much.
Yeah, that which sounds like a good option. Typically, it's interesting. Shopify, typically people prefer monthly subscription. In the WordPress world, people typically prefer yearly subscriptions,
That's what
which
right.
is
So that's why we're going yearly. You're exactly right.
yeah,
And we're monthly with Shopify and with a couple of other channels. And we're also available on Drupal and Magento One, and then we're looking at a number of other platforms in 2023.
yeah.
We've
Did
changed. Yeah,
is
go ahead.
Drupal and Magento still a big part of your business, or is it
Not
more WordPress
not
and
really.
Shopify these
Not
days?
really. It seems like we've done very well with Shopify, Shopify Plus, and we've done fine with our WordPress form spam app, and we're really enjoying our relationship talking to the WooCommerce users, merchants as we're
Mm.
building this piece. So we think there's a tremendous opportunity there.
Yeah, Woo developers and designers and business owners are a pretty passionate group. Sometimes they know what they want, they know what they like. There's been a lot of changes in that space with the way WooCommerce sells add-ons and plugins, and with the hosts now all jumping into that, and that is just kind of complicated the issue a little bit, I think, instead of streamlining it.
Right. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, it's crazy. There was, it was interesting. I don't know if you caught the interview that Matt Mullenweg did on This Week in Google on Leo Ports Network last week, but he did a show where he took questions for an hour, and he's pretty passionate about building Woo as it is now an automatic product. So I think we're going to see some really interesting things coming on there. So
Yeah. Well, we'd like to. We have talked to a few people at Automatic, and uh, they're building. They've built an amazing business. It's been fun to watch, and they've made a couple of acquisitions recently, which I think are tremendous. They just have a strong offering all over.
yeah, they're kind of all over the space. I mean, they own everything from Pocket Cast to Tumblr, and certainly in the security space, they own WP Scan in the middle and a few other things. I think
Right.
WooCommerce has bought a few things, and they even bought MailPoet some time ago, which is a self-hosted plugin for doing mailing lists to try and build some of that integration into Woo. So there's all kinds of like really amazing stuff going on there with builders and people in that space. So it's
Right.
kind of crazy. How do you think about all these plugins? Are they kind of are they page builder based? Are they block based? Or are they other based? Like, where do you think they're going in terms of that?
Um, I'm not exactly sure how to answer that. We're there's a couple things. It's a different type of user. The Shopify customers, we're often speaking to the merchants who built the
Hmm.
site themselves and manage it themselves. So they have a whole different approach. With WordPress and Woo, we're speaking to developers almost exclusively. It's very rarely the merchant that's doing it themselves. So uh, it's fascinating. It's just a whole different approach, and we had to really adjust for that. The way they're coming into our system versus it's a different skill set, different person, different set of needs. The merchant truly understands how they lose money with captcha and how they lose money with checkout. uh, it's been an interesting ride from that perspective as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's just and it gets more interesting. The I think Shopify is more I don't know. I think there's more DIY people in the Shopify space than in the WordPress space. Not that there's not in the WordPress space, but I
Yeah, well,
think,
there's some, but for the most part, we're speaking directly to the merchants
yep,
when we talk to Shopify users, uh,
yep,
where we're talking
it's a
to
totally different.
developers that have, which I think that's what drives the pricing too. The merchants say, "Yeah, just bill me monthly." The developers are saying, "Yeah, just we don't want to think about this again. Just put it on for a year."
Yeah. Where do you think your company is going to go after these two products are released?
Well, I think we'll keep adding more channels. We're looking at BigCommerce and Webflow and a host of others in 2023. We've changed the way we deliver our
Hmm.
technology, and that's the big change we have. Where previously, we originally started as an enterprise sale, so we were selling it to corporations, but the sales cycle is ridiculous. The close ratio is low, and it's just a lot of time and expense to make a few sales. So we switched totally to an app focus, but we were still designed as an enterprise deal. So for every channel, we had to rewrite our technology. So Shopify, we rewrote in their format, and Drupal and Magento, we wrote in their formats. So now we've changed that delivery where we have a decentralized technology, our core technology, and we can do API hooks to every new channel. So instead of the development time, and I think you can appreciate this, Rob, instead of development time being 6 or 7 months to open a new channel, now it's just we just have to build the front end with API hooks, and it could be a couple weeks. So that's going to be a game changer for us to get out into more channels. And then the other is something I'm working on, which is different totally. Now that the human presence built business, and by the way, the app on WordPress is called Human Presence. It's in the WordPress App Store with the checkout protection and ultimately carding protection, and with spam control and everything else. We're going to be launching on Woo as Shop Protector because that's what it does, protects your shop. Um, and so, but the other idea I have beyond this is if we, and we're working on that, and we've put a team together. If we collect the timing and movement behavioral events like we do on our apps, and instead of sending it to an algorithm, we just collect that data for each session and put it in a time series. So if you were on a site today, we collect your timing and movement behavioral events, and 2 days from now, and then a week later, and then a month later, we collect that. And neuroscientists are going to be studying that to see if they can build an algorithm to see if you're having any cognitive decline. So it'd be an early warning system for Alzheimer's or concussion or traumatic brain injury or whatever. It'd be an early warning system saying, we're not telling you have a problem, but you should probably get in and get checked. So
Yeah, that's such a cool idea, and a really helpful idea for a lot of people.
yeah, so we're going to be we have a financial partner that's helping fund that right now. We have a number of high end concussion and neuroscience at universities study groups that'll be helping us. We have some participants from college football teams and the
Yeah.
military and a hospital group, and we're going to test it and build our algorithms over the next probably 18 months, and then be able to launch that. So that's the offshoot. But on the human presence side, the bot detection and spam control and checkout protection, will the game is just to be rolling out on more channels. We'll have more integration with other form builders. Perhaps some other hosting companies have an opt-in integration and things like that. So we'll be expanding. Um, I guess horizontally as we build each channel, and then as we venture on this other business called human health, because
Yeah, the human health side's really interesting, and when you think about it, a lot of big players have jumped in that space, including Google in the last couple of years with their purchase of Fitbit, right? And
absolutely.
I think the only big concern there is what happens with all that data, because I know when Google bought Fitbit, there was a lot of discussion kicking around that maybe. uh, Google would be selling some of that data off to the insurance companies, and you know what an uproar that would cost. I'm sure.
Right, right. No, the data privacy is going to be the big issue, and we've hired some people in that area, or have some people that we're going to be contracted to help us with that. But that's a huge, especially in the hospital environment. There's HIPAA requirements and everything else,
Yep.
but we're going to make that one of our, as part of our mission statement, that we'll have data will only be given to anyone in a totally anonymous form. So. Um,
No,
no,
I
you're
agree.
exactly
It's
right. It's one of our first thoughts that we have some serious data here, but it'll be totally anonymous for the algorithm developers and everyone else. Yeah,
yeah. It's funny, we all talk about data privacy online, and the internet is actually built on the fact that there's no privacy. And
right,
people
right.
don't understand that when I say that. And they say, well, but I care about my privacy. And I'm like, okay, so maybe it's time you move to the moon, get a bubble, have no phone connection, no internet connection, no nothing connection, no TV. No. And I know I'm being facetious, but it's almost that you have to do that now.
You really do. You really do. Yeah, I think of all the things, just your browser history, and yeah, oh yeah. But now this would be keystrokes. Yeah, let me tell you about one of the key applications, Rob. I think you'd be interested, is
Sure.
the military. If someone gets traumatic brain injury from shooting a weapon on their shoulder that used to be either wall mounted or tank mounted, um, they're a young person that's going to have
Mhm.
problems for the next 50 years. So
Yep.
if they can detect that early and not let it exacerbate, uh, they're very, very interested in that. So they can also have somebody, just do some keystrokes, type a report or type a paragraph, or give a daily diary or something every night, and be collecting data on a regular basis. And the objective is to identify it early and say, we're noticing a slight decline in your cognitive reactions. We got to get you out of there. So they get the person out before it gets worse. Huge expense, huge. I mean, they have really played with people's lives from the age of 19 to 70. So
Yeah, it
uh,
is.
we're
And
really
the
excited
effects
about that one.
of and the effects of what happens when they're deployed is just it goes on for years, and it's everything
Yep,
from concussions to arm issues to PTSD, believe it or not. I mean,
yep,
I know a
yep,
lot of people in emergency services, and PTSD is a big deal now and starting to be recognized. Like
yep.
it's a lot. And I
So that's why,
know,
if we can affect that, if we can impact that, and lower the number of long-term traumatic brain injury incidents in the
yeah,
military, and contribute to that, that would be a real positive things to do with our lives here. So we're excited about
yeah.
that.
No, I can understand why, and and even the impacts of concussions. Like we're now taking, you were talking about some work you're doing with football. We're now taking the approach of concussions and helmet safety in contact sports more seriously today than we ever have before. I mean,
Yep.
I've seen some bad ones. I've got a good friend of mine who's had three bad concussions in her life, is my age. And in all three cases, the helmet broke. So that tells you
Oh my
something.
goodness.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
you
head
know,
injuries are
it's,
going to be. I think we're excited to be in it, just for doing some good for the world. But we think it's a tremendous opportunity too. So.
it sure is. If somebody wants to find out more about your plugins, what your company's doing, get a hold of you, how's the best way, Bill?
Our website is humanpresence.io. I think you spell that. They could certainly get on there. We have the Human Presence app on the WordPress App Store. Um, WooCommerce will be coming out soon as Shop Protector. If they're in Shopify, it's Shop Protector also, so they can look there. And then we have a second app on Shopify called Shop Protector Plus, which is the form spam and all the basic stuff, but includes checkout protection as well.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me, Bill, and all the best of luck with the new products, and have an amazing day.
You too, Rob, and as you venture around the country, stop by the South sometime. We'd love to talk to you.
Sure will. Be glad to. Bye bye for now.
All right.
This episode of the STM show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to Bill for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Make your business succeed.